Over the years, the CEOs have realized that HR is a very, very important function. And they, that it's not just a personnel function, which, requires only a recruitment to happen and a salary to be given. I think it's now they've realized that HR is a strategic partner, and therefore the expectations of a CEO from an HR professional is that they would deeply understand the business.
Hey everyone, welcome to the People Let Show. I'm your host Shivangi, and today I'm thrilled to be talking to Simin Askari. Simin is the Senior VP for Corporate HR and Business Excellence at the DS Group, with over 3 decades of experience to her name. At DS Group, she has the most important HR responsibility of the current times, which is aligning HR function with the company's expansive vision and growth across India. Fun fact, Simin started her career in sales before moving into HR. So today we'll dive into her journey from developing business to developing talent and everything in the middle. Welcome to the show, Simin. I've read so much about you, and today it's truly a privilege to having you here.
Thank you so much, Shivangi. I'm really happy to be here with you.
I'm very curious to know, what are you like outside of your job, outside of your work?
Well, I don't think I'm really very exciting as a person, but yeah, I think now I am more of I think several roles kind of rolled up into one. So I'm a mother for 2 children. I am a wife, a daughter, and I also am a pet parent. So I have a cat at home. All of that kind of keeps me quite busy. I have a pretty decent social life. I think that's what I am outside of work. Yeah.
That's nothing short of very interesting, by the way. Like, having a social life along with having a fully functional work life, that's the aim for all of us.
Yes.
I was also reading that you come from a very solid background of sales and business development. And I'm very curious to know how the switch happened and what is this culmination taught you so far?
So yeah, I mean, after my management degree, I got campus placed into HCL. So hardcore computer selling at that time, hardware. And frankly, if you ask me today, I still consider myself a sales person. Instead of a hardware, I'm now selling jobs. So it's probably quite similar in that fashion. After HCL, I joined the Times of India for some time. I accidentally actually stepped into the world of HR, I would say, because my husband was starting a venture of his own. And once he started, after a couple of years, I decided to join him. The journey actually started from the shop, actually, the business development part where I would help him with the buyers and we would travel. We were into exports of leather, garments, goods, accessories. So a lot of interaction with foreign clients. That was something that I think I was quite good at. So somewhere I think HR started getting into my role. I didn't even realize it, but that's where it started. And then slowly it started building up. Then I think after about 8, 9 years or so, I got an opportunity from the Apollo Group. So I took over as the HR head for Apollo International, and which included the overseas offices as well as the India operations. And after spending about 5 years, I came to DS Group, heard the vision of the current vice chairman, got really excited about it because he really wanted to transform the organization, make it more people centric, more work on the employer brand, make it a great organization. And I think till date, I'm kind of in love with that vision. I'm able to look at my function or in from a 360-degree lens rather than just the prism of an HR professional. I'm able to understand the financial aspects of things, having run my own entrepreneurial venture. So it's like, I would say that has really helped me. Yeah.
So many different things that you've done. Like, could you share an interesting or a thought-provoking story from your years in the HR that you can still remember?
I will talk about something from the current organization because here there's a lot of change management that has happened, right? It's a legacy organization. We're going to celebrate 95 years of existence this year. So, yeah, so we have people who've been with us for 30, 35 years as well. So, we decided to create a DS Learning Academy. And we felt that that would help in upskilling our people and keeping them updated on what is happening around the world. So what we did was to increase the adoption and to increase that excitement, to ease that transition into this kind of learning and e-learning or even face-to-face learning. We decided to launch certain competitions and have a leaderboard saying that whoever wins first or the team that wins first would be eligible for certain prizes and all of that. To our surprise, that kind of built up so much of excitement that one of the teams that actually won the prize first or actually completed all the journeys first was the one that we least expected. And they were the people who were quite senior in their careers and had been with us for some time. We really didn't expect that. So I think what that taught us was obviously there is no age for learning, but then just need to be motivated enough and you can do anything. And see, of course, if you present your initiative in an interesting manner and tell an individual what is it in for them, they are going to really adopt it well.
Great, that's value creation for your employees, right? Simon, I want to understand what are the top 2 to 3 challenges or priorities the HR team at DS Group is focusing on for this year.
I think, what is the top priority for us is leveraging data for strategic HR decisions. Data has helped us to look at an individual with an impartial sort of a lens, to look at it from a data point and see that, okay, is it worth really investing in this person or not? Not just because he's somebody's favorite or, he's a great human being, but really not a good performer. So how is the organization going to benefit by keeping him within the system? So all of that is now happening with data. The second thing I think that's going to be important for us is leadership development. So there is a huge activity that is happening. We call it the luminary circle. And we have over 130 odd leaders who are going to go through this journey, a whole 1 year journey that is happening for them. So that's something that is so leadership development and succession planning is also something that we are kind of focusing on. In terms of talent, I think that is an eternal problem or issue for FMCG organizations. So talent acquisition is also going to be a focus area for us.
Got it, got it. How has the company's or the CEO's expectations from the HR changed over the years, and what are they now in 2024?
I think over the years, the CEOs have realized that HR is a very, very important function. And they, that it's not just a personnel function, which, requires only a recruitment to happen and a salary to be given. I think now they've realized that HR is a strategic partner, and therefore the expectations of a CEO from an HR professional is that they would deeply understand the business. They would understand every aspect and every function of the business. So it's not like they will be required only to get in people and distribute the salaries. They need to make sure that they are contributing to the bottom line as well. And how that would happen if they don't understand the business, they really can't do that. So I think that is what has changed. The focus of a CEO as well as an CHRO is on developing a future ready workforce, making sure that the requirements of the future are also met by making sure that these people or whoever is employed is either upskilled or given certain tools to be able to manage the time ahead. So future ready workforce is important. I think that is what is required. And also for any CEO, they would want business continuity. So therefore, leadership development is also extremely important.
And like you said also some time back, that a lot of decisions at DS Group are taken basis data, like hard facts and not gut and instincts anymore. On that note, I want to ask you if you've thought about implementing AI in HR in terms of like, have you used any tools? Have you evaluated or are currently using any tools? I want to know more about that.
Okay, so we are using AI tools in several of our processes and specifically HR also. I'll give you an example of L&D, right? Training and development. Basically, the AI tools that we have, as I said, we have introduced a DS Learning Academy. It's a digital platform which is AI and ML enabled. So that platform actually helps employees to get hyper personalized learning journeys. So that's where one area where AI is quite, I would say, extensively being used. The second area is where we have tried to implement it for our sales staff. Okay, this is an AI tool which is based on the principle of nudge. Okay, and so every day in the morning, a salesperson would get a specific nudge, which would be again customized to what is it that motivates him. So, for example, a person may be motivated by money and he would get a nudge saying that, hey, you've sold these many SKUs. If you sell this much more, this is the incentive you're going to earn. The other person may be motivated by where he is on the leaderboard. And he would be getting a nudge saying that, you've sold this much. And if you sell this much more, you're going to be number one in your territory. So getting these kind of nudges actually has helped us a lot because that has helped the sales team perform.
What I'm getting is that it's a hyper personalized, like a vision board on where you are and where you could be.
Yes,
And
yes, it is.
that's great in its own. So, just speaking of productivity and performance, what steps have you taken to improve that at DS?
So, see, productivity and performance improve by not just providing tools or an infrastructure or an environment. It's actually an entire ecosystem, right? How is it that your manager is treating you? What is the kind of feedback you're getting? What are the kind of goal settings you're doing? How is that being tracked? What is the ease of doing business, as I would, as you would kind of put it, that is it easy for you to perform, or is it, or are there hurdles in terms of getting your TATA cleared or whatever, that you're spending half the time in the administrative tasks, or are you actually concentrating what you're supposed to be doing, right? In the DS group, we have actually tried to look at every aspect. So when it comes to tech interventions, we have several that we have deployed, which help, for example, a person keep a track, on the daily allowances, the traveling that they are doing, have an online sanctions that they can get approved, the submission of bills that can happen online, the follow up with the accounts teams and all of that. So that takes away a lot of their administrative time that they don't know otherwise would be spent in paperwork and everything. I would say not softwares, but certain automated tools that help us in getting and figuring out what is it that the person can be given to motivate and to make sure that his earnings are up to mark and that they are kept satisfied. Obviously you can't satisfy everybody, I mean that's a no brainer here, but if majority of the people are happy and if they feel that they are getting what they're worth, then I think that solves half a problem here.
But what about, the efficiency of the HR team, of your team? Are there like 2 to 3 manual repetitive tasks that take up, your HR bandwidth a lot more than the others?
There are a lot of repetitive tasks that were happening, and we've deployed RPS for that. Okay, which has actually reduced the time like drastically, I would say. We've also introduced Tableau dashboards, which help us in tracking the MISs and the data that we would require in certain formats on a daily basis. We are introducing a new HRMS system, which will help the talent acquisition team as well, because there is an AI application which will help in parsing the resumes. It will help in keeping a track of the people who are coming for interviews and making that whole process seamless. In terms of the payroll or the HR operations, also certain outsourcing we've done. So on non-value added activities, we'll try to outsource it and give it to other people. And even if you do have technology in place, you will still need people around. You will still need them to sort of not just monitor, but to keep them motivated, to listen to their grievances, to be there as a human being, the shoulder to sort of offer in case of any concerns for anybody there. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can't take out human from the human resources, right? That has
Yeah.
to be there. But
Yes.
we recently did a survey with a bunch of people, like I think 3,000 to 5,000 odd sample set. And we did realize that 90% of the HR professionals said that they don't use AI and neither do they plan to. I, from you, want to understand what is stopping people. What are the main barriers to adoption?
I don't understand why, but I think cost probably could be one of them, because definitely these technologies are not cheap, okay? And having an intervention just for the sake of having that is also not correct. So a lot of I would say people dive into whatever is the new buzzword and say, okay, this is what I will do, irrespective of actually figuring out whether the organization really requires it. What is the value add that will get they will get by introducing that technology? And also, I would say certain bit of reluctance come from the change that is expected to happen with that. When you bring in any new technology, obviously there will be a change in the way you are operating, and that makes people uncomfortable. So having the same comfort, in the way you're doing things, ऐसा ही होता है, ऐसे ही होना चाहिए, that is why people don't want to do things differently. But AI is, I think, a way of life now. You can't escape it, and I think you should adopt it to the best of your advantage.
One of the things that I did see was like a business adoption, like a business pushback, right? As your CFO saying, or that we don't really need this, or your CIO saying that this is not compliant. So is there like a business? Is there actually like on ground their business pushback?
It's always there. Okay. You will always have different functional heads giving their point of view as to why something can't happen. Okay. I think that's there with every organization. You will first hear the why it can't happen, and then you have to convince why it should happen. And you can convince your other stakeholders in the organization only if you've done your homework well, only if you've understood whether your organization requires that technology, what is the benefits that's going to happen, what is the ROI, and how quickly are you going to recover it. So only if you're able to do that, then you will be able to convince.
What are 2 to 3 tips you'd give to HR leaders who are looking to manage the transition to Gen AI powered HR solutions?
I think communication is the key. The initial resistance comes from people because they would feel that this is going to change and alter everything, and they feel scared. So you need to have a communication plan in place first. The minute people start seeing the benefit, they will become at ease. Second is simplicity in and the ease of use is also something that you need to look at before you introduce something. Are your people going to be able to manage it or not? And I think third, of course, is what is the ROI going to be? How is it going to benefit their department or their business at the end of the day? And convince them there. So doing your homework prior to actually introducing anything is very important.
So some of the barriers that people face, some of the challenges that HR folks maybe face that with respect to AI is the kind of losing their jobs on the line. Do you think they need to develop some skills which kind of makes them feel like they're not competing against AI, but AI is the sidekick basically? So what 2 to 3 soft skills that they can acquire to adopt it seamlessly?
I think, having a digital mindset is very important. It doesn't matter what tool is going to come in. There will be a certain way changes in the way things are happening. For example, now that I've put in RPAs for certain processes, I don't require a human being there, right? But that human being is now deployed somewhere else. So not necessarily you will be losing your job. You just need to reinvent yourself. You need to figure out what is it that I need to do. So upskilling yourself into the skills of tomorrow are more important. Making sure that you are technologically or tech savvy and you have a flair for using new technologies, what is going to be important. So yeah. And frankly, not everything would be driven by machines. People will be required, of course. And not every task will be strategic task. You will still need people for repetitive mundane tasks. So ऐसा नहीं है कि everything will be just, you know, we have new technologies, so we don't need people. It will never be like that.
It's one of the most unique answers I've gotten to this question. I want to understand if there's one piece of advice you would give to people leaders across India, what would it be?
I feel that it's not just HR, which is now a strategic partner. Every function is equally important. And you need to work seamlessly together. For that, understanding how a business will thrive in the dynamic world that we are living in today, in the various, I mean, the VUCA world and the Vani worlds of today, you need to ensure that your business is sustainable, that it is viable, that it is able to generate revenue, because only once it is doing all of that is that you have your jobs, you have your security, you have your growth. Without that, it's really nothing. So I think irrespective of the function, this is the most important thing that everybody needs to keep in mind.
That's a nice answer. As a very fitting end to the podcast as well. And I'm going to close this on one note where, with one quote that I read from you on an article, and it kind of, like put things in perspective for me, was train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't have to. That's such a great line, Simin. Thank you for that. Thank you for your time
Thank
today.
you so much. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.